it's so important because it keeps you grounded and it puts everything into perspective, and you understand that how lucky you are, and how at the end of the day you'll have bad moments. You'll have those moments where you say, "Oh, that wasn't cool. It's not fair." But life goes on, and you realize through stories that other people share with you that a lot of times what you think is a mountain really isn't. um, and you also realize how much you can overcome in order to whatever the situation is.
Welcome to the Brand Bridge, the podcast for heart-led women entrepreneurs who are ready to build a personal brand with structure, without compromise. My name is Melissa, and today, so excited to have the one, the only, the Lin Sok.
With structure and without compromise. So the without compromise, I'm okay. With structure, I don't know about that.
You don't like structure in
I I
in
I,
building things?
I need structure, but do I do I use structure? I'm joking. I'm joking. There's structure.
Well, at least a little bit of guidelines, right? So,
Exactly.
so excited to have you on. And just as simple as we saw each other at an event. Hey, Lynn, you want to come on my podcast? Sure. That was it. That was the the long and short of it. And so excited to have you on. And so when I was thinking about what are we going to talk about, because we never actually talked about what we're going to talk about.
Hmm.
This word overcoming
Hmm.
came to mind, and I think that especially when we're building businesses, when we are coming from all different kinds of backgrounds, there's something that we learn on this journey. There's things that we've overcome again and again on this journey. And so when we saw each other last week, we were at an event and you were sharing the non-negotiables, the three non-negotiables that you kind of live by or build by. I really thought it was really interesting, blessed me, blessed everyone there as well. And so I'd love for you to share, first of all, just your journey of becoming a business owner and a founder of many things, and what those non-negotiables are that keep you going and keep you structured in building.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for having me, Melissa. And yes, it was easy as that. I remember it more as, why have I not been a guest on your podcast, Melissa? And that's how today came to be. So thank you for having me on your show. Um, a little bit about my background. I'm an entrepreneur, forever entrepreneur. Almost my whole adult life has been in business, not by choice, more by circumstance. So I lead a financial services firm. It's 100% independently owned. We have 10 people on the team and manage close to $50 million of assets under management. I also am the founder of Women and Money Montreal, which is a not-for-profit organization that helps empower English-speaking women in Quebec through financial confidence and business education and community collaboration. And because that wasn't enough, a couple of years ago, I came up with the idea of starting my own tech startup as a non-technical founder. So that journey is just a whole podcast show on its own. And the name of the company is Owni AI, and we help people find a partner in order to invest in real estate. And that is me in a nutshell.
Wow. I mean, it sounds like you've maybe introduced yourself a few times before. I don't know.
I have.
But it's amazing. And I first met you because of Women and Money Montreal and being a part of that Facebook group, and going to your events was the first networking kind of event that I'd ever been to. And so always amazing women at these events, amazing men too that come to these events, and just so open to share and to give. And I love that that's an environment that you really cultivate and you are intentional about, because I know that you said you don't work with any jerks, I'll use that word, in your business. And so why was, before we kind of get into the non-negotiables, but why is kind of building these spaces important for you?
Before an before anything else, I know building communities and hosting events is the thing. It's a la mode. And for me, it
Mhm.
really wasn't something that was in my realm. I was never really part of a community as I see it now. I never even really attended events. And so what I wanted to do with this, and this wasn't my idea, by the way, it was a friend of mine who suggested at the beginning of the pandemic that I start creating this community, and she had to walk me through in the beginning of why I would create such an environment, why anyone would take time out of their day to come to my event and be part of my community. What is this about? So that's when I realized that it's not about me, it's about the people who are coming in. What are they searching for? What are they looking for? And the funny part is creating Women and Money Montreal made me learn a lot about business in general. When we think of
Oh,
nonprofits, we don't think of them as businesses, but they absolutely are. Anybody who has founded a nonprofit, who's run a nonprofit, who's done the financials for a nonprofit knows that it is a business. And if you don't run it like a business, then it will fail. So in building it, I took my entrepreneurial background and applied it to the nonprofit, and it's worked. It was never about me. It was about why are these women choosing to attend, whether it's online or in person? Why are they leaving whatever it is that they're doing to attend, and what are they looking for? So I wanted to build it as something that I would actually attend, because as someone who
mhm.
doesn't typically attend events, it needed to be that type of environment. And am I answering the need of the people who are attending? Because otherwise you just blend in with every other event that's being hosted in a city.
Yeah, and in Montreal, I mean, we're really fortunate and blessed that there are many events that we can go to meet, to just meet different people, and but they're not all the same,
No,
like you're saying.
no.
Like, not every event is the same, and I'm sure there's people out there who, and I've had discussions with people who just hate going to networking events
Mhm,
because of, like, it just kind of feels pretentious at certain point, and, like,
mhm.
people just, like, "What's your portfolio? What's your this? What's your numbers?" That's it, and I know, you know, those things are important, but not maybe in that kind of, uh, situation where I love the events that you host and you attend are really about the people and what can we share and what can we bring. And that's something that's very strong in my heart. It's not always about what can I get, but what can I give. And I love that that's the heart of the events that you not only create, but the ones that you attend. Like, when I see, even if you're not hosting, if I see you're going,
Mhm.
I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna go," because I know that Lynn I know that Lynn doesn't go to just any old thing. So I think that's really important. Um, but yeah, so getting back to your journey,
Mhm.
and just like the overcoming, like, I know there's many things that you've overcome, not just in your business, but before you started business. And how did those things influence how you do business, how you see, what you do, and the projects and the things you decide to say yes to?
It's funny because, speaking of overcoming, and this is like the third conversation I've had today about this, by the way. I don't,
Wow.
and I'm not trying to minimize anything, but I personally don't think I've overcome anything. I just think I do the things. I mean, it's very, anything that I have to overcome personally, how I feel about it is so trivial compared to what other people have to go through. And I
Hmm.
find it, I always find it a funny question and an interesting question, because if you just Google my name and kind of see my story, people think, oh, like Lynn was a young mom and she was a single mom of four and etc. And none of that to me feels like I overcame. I just did what I had to do, as many women have done
Oh.
and still do in silence. The only difference is that I share it publicly online. I do it out loud. Not everything is online, Um, and all of this is basically, it goes back to my parents and my childhood, which I've talked about a lot. It has shaped everything, how I move forward with everything. I'm Cambodian. I was born during the Cambodian genocide, which was in the late 70s, early 80s. And in context, for those who don't know the story, um, my back in Cambodia, there was a movement to take over the government by the Khmer Rouge, and what they wanted to do was capture anybody who was considered a threat and basically throw them into a concentration camp in order to kill them. So we're talking about people who work for the government, people who are educated, professors, police officers, teachers,
Mm.
even those who wore glasses. Wearing glasses was a sign of intelligence. So the minute that you were seen as a threat, you were captured. So so back home, my mother's parents were captured because my grandfather was a police officer, and so they captured my grandfather and my grandmother. So they died in a concentration camp. They were also after my father as well because he was a professor at the university. So my father, mother, and brother, who was 6, 7 at the time, they escaped Cambodia. They ran on foot to Thailand. My mother was pregnant with me, so I was born in a refugee camp, in a United Nations refugee camp on the Thai Cambodian border. And then we came to Canada. So overcoming for me, it's just well, and when I say it out loud, people laugh because they're like, "Oh, you've been through so much." No, no, I have not. My parents have been through a lot. Anybody who's escaped war has been through a lot. Those who are still living in fear, who are living in silence, there's this whole idea that we don't have freedom of speech in North America. Yes, we do. In fact, I think we have too much freedom of speech. There are countries where you're not allowed
Yeah.
to say, you're not allowed to have a conversation like this and have a podcast like this. If this was a conversation about our government right now, an intellectual, conversation about how the government's being run right now, we're allowed to have that conversation. But in other
Yeah.
countries, you're not. In other countries, they would
True.
come and find you, and they would come to your house and bring you to jail. So overcome. I don't think I've overcome anything. I think I've just done what I had to do. But the story that how my parents came here is just the basis of how I operate through life. I mean, you and I have known each other for a few years. If something happens, I'm just like, oh, that's not good. If there's an obstacle in the road, things don't go as planned.
Yeah.
Oh no, that sucks. That's about the the biggest reaction you'll get out of me. I see others who overcome situations that I can't even fathom, and I live through them. This is why I speak to everybody. I talk to everybody so I could get an idea of other people's reality. For me, I'm so
Mm.
fortunate. I know that I have the capacity to overcome anything, and while other people can't, they can't. They might not
Mm.
have the capacity, they might not have the means, they might not have the skill set to do so. I
Mm.
mean, anything you kind of throw at me, I'll figure it out, or maybe I
Yeah.
won't, or maybe I won't, and I just have to change course.
Yeah, it's making me think. I mean, thank you for sharing all that. First of all, the glasses, like what?
Yeah, yeah.
Just because someone has glasses, it's like, no,
For anybody who
that's
doesn't know the story,
well.
an excellent movie slash documentary to watch is The Killing Fields. My father, bless his
Mm.
heart, he made me watch that movie when I was 7, 8 years old. It is a difficult film to watch as an adult. Like, I don't know if I'd be able to watch it now, let alone 7, 8. While other kids are watching cartoons, I'm there watching Killing Fields and all the possible documentaries you could find about the Khmer Rouge regime and how the genocide was.
Oh my goodness, wow. Well, bless your dad. I mean, maybe it gave you some perspective
It
at
gave
a
me
very young
something.
age.
It gave me something, that's for sure.
But yeah, it's interesting because it's making me think of it's like choice, right? Like I'm just kind of connecting it in some ways that when we overcome something, or when we're using that word, it's like it's almost the idea of we have um or we don't have a choice. Like, you just kind of like your parents, like they were like, well, there's no choice here. The choice is we go,
Yeah,
and that's it.
that's it.
The alternate is not. So it kind of feels like those moments where it's like you just go,
Mhm,
because there's, I mean, we always have a choice. Some people, I'm sure, didn't do what your parents did and they stayed
mhm.
because maybe they thought we can fight this. Um, but it feels like those moments that you decided, no, there's a different way, there's a better way, and that's what I'm choosing. That's what kind of what it feels like in some ways. So by that definition, I mean, we all have overcome some things
Mhm,
in life, definitely, especially when we're having a business.
mhm.
So getting back to like the business side and the things that you now learned growing up, learning from being traumatized by killing fields, your non-negotiables. Like,
Mhm.
I just love to hear your perspective on these things that really changed your life, and then basically change how you do business too.
Sure. So my three non-negotiables are number one, work as hard as you can for as long as you can, because there will come a day when you won't be able to, and you'll wish you'll have that time back. That actually came directly from my father, who, when my parents raised us, they always reminded my brothers and me, how fortunate we are to live in Canada and how much opportunity there is here. Again, the question of overcoming and opportunities and options. And I know right now a lot of people feel that there's no hope or no where to turn. I personally think you haven't met the right people. I think that in
Sure.
Canada, even with all the issues that we have, and especially from a business and a tech perspective, in terms of funding and access to resources to scale and go global, I know that we're a little bit behind and slow, but the opportunities are still there. And I think for the majority of us, we don't seize those opportunities. Instead, it's much easier to complain. It's much easier to have a conversation with someone that's a complaint versus a conversation of hope. We've socially accepted complaints. So, anyways, um, going back to work, the idea of work. My father always said just to work. And I think we live in a time when a lot of us do not work enough. And the reason why we don't work enough is because we have access to too many options. This is how we know that there's an air of abundance here in Canada. We have that choice to start a business sort of part time and get away with it. In other countries, you don't have that option. In other cities, you don't have that option. There's one employer. There's only one way to earn a living. So whether you like it or not, that's where you have to be Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. So that's something that's a non-negotiable for me. It came from my father, and to always work hard, because whether it's because of age, whether it's because of life circumstances or because of illness or sickness, there will always come a time when you're not able to work. And I'm sure that some of the listeners who are here, it's not necessarily a question of age. What I'm talking about is because of illness, because of having to care for a loved one, because of you're forced to retire because of a layoff. You wish that you had the opportunity to work. I know right now the job market is a little difficult, and there's so many people who would love the opportunity to work because they've been out of work well after their employment insurance ended. And then we have others who just, like that are just kind of being lazo, I'll call it out, and sort of working, but not, even though they can. And I don't know, it's something difficult for me to watch and see, because I'm someone um, who does work hard, and it'll catch up to you one day. So that's the first.
Yeah.
You were going to say something.
Yeah. Well, I was just gonna, because um like, especially in entrepreneurial spaces, this idea of, I think we're coming, I mean, I'd love to know what you think about this term, and which is the hustle culture.
Hmm.
what do you think about that? Do you think, because, there's people, they work hard, maybe they work too hard on the wrong things and they
Mhm,
get burned out.
mhm,
Maybe that's what it is. But what do you think about that? Cuz when people sometimes, especially in like a westernized ideas,
mhm,
it's like the idea of like working hard and da da da, you got to hustle. It has this negative connotation to it in
mhm,
some ways, because it's like, well, we don't need to, like, the hustle culture is done now. Like,
mhm.
we kind of come into an understanding of, there's, I guess, a more of a balance.
Mhm.
So what do you what do you think of that term, and what do you think of, like, when people hear that, like, just work, 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 um until you can't, like, how do you kind of, I guess, like, balance those, or how do you see those two things?
So no one's telling you to burn out, but nobody's telling you not to work either, right? So if you happen to be a
Right.
person who doesn't need to work, that's a completely different story. I'm talking about those of us, the majority of us, who need to do something to earn a living, whether it's a 9 to 5 salaried position, corporate position, or as an entrepreneur. Uh, hustle hard culture, like that's over. That's a little passe. But let's talk about that for a second because it was a big thing when I started out. That's what it was. If you wanted
Mm.
to run a business, you were working 70, 80 hours a week. I remember, and I've burnt out in the past. Like I remember there was a time when I used to stay awake for 2, 3 days in a row, and for me, that was hustle culture. It's like, "You think you're tired? I've been awake for 72 hours, so what what's your problem?" But there's nothing fun about that either. So now
Yeah.
what we find is that we have the polar opposites. You don't have to work until you're burnt out. You also don't have to not not put in the effort. You know,
Mm.
don't try to run a business. Don't try to start a business and think that you could get away with making your own schedule all the time. Like there's this perception that I only want to work 15 hours a week, but I want a full time income. All right, is it possible? Sure, it is. The majority of people can't achieve that. If you're one of the lucky ones, do it,
Yeah.
but the majority of us can't. The majority of us have to put in the hours. So again, let's go back to the hustle culture of the 70, 80 hours a week that you had to work, which was, let's say, pre-pandemic. Pre-pandemic, I know that in the mid 2000s up until like right up until 2020, that's what it was if you wanted to have a
Oh,
business. Since the pandemic, there's been a lot of we have a lot of automation tools, AI tools that are supposed to help speed up the process. So that 70, 80 hours a week that we used to work, logically speaking, we have tools now that could help us work more efficiently. Now, my question is, are we really doing that?
oh,
And
yeah.
like personally, I see a lot of people just playing around. I see women
Yeah.
using automation very well. Who's non-technical and really good at automation and AI tools? Moms. Moms in moms
Mm.
groups are just powerhouses. They're
Yeah.
wiring their entire household, which is a business in itself, all through AI tools. They're creating AI agents for everything from finances to meal planning and everything. So I think now there's no better way to be an entrepreneur. We have tools available to help speed up the process, to research ideas, to figure out ways
Yeah.
to start making money um,
Yeah.
a lot faster than we used to. When I started out, I had to cold call people from the white pages. That's not fun. Now, if I really wanted
Oh,
to,
gosh.
I could program an AI agent to do that for me if I really wanted to, and I don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, white pages.
The phone book.
A phone book? What's that?
Haven't seen one of those in a while.
I I know, right? Yeah, and I mean, it's a great point you're making, because I think that, especially during the pandemic, when people there was like this kind of exodus out of corporate into entrepreneurship, and it was glamorized. Like, people were like, just sit by your pool and do a little email and you're going to get 10K months, 10K months. That was like
Yeah.
the whole
That was
per
a
month.
golden
Like
ticket.
that was the anthem.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was like the anthem of entrepreneurship. And then when that didn't happen for most people, they were like, "Oh, okay, well," and I know many people who didn't do their business anymore just because they thought, "Oh, it seems so easy," but it's not. There is effort, there is work. You can't live on motivation.
Nope.
You have to be intentional with the time that you have and what you're doing. And yeah, you don't have to burn yourself out, but there is definitely work to be done. So I love that you kind of just clarified what that means, because sometimes people are like, is this about hustling harder, or is this about like being more intentional? And I think that that's what you're saying. Like, be intentional with your time, but do something. Take action as well.
Exactly. Are you working?
Yeah.
Look at what you do in a week. Are you putting in your 40 hours? And you see Billy in the background. Hi, honey. You see, are you putting in your 40 hours a week? Because as an entrepreneur, you will have to put in your 40, 50 hours a week, especially when you're starting out. There's no
Yeah.
ifs, ands about it. That's what it is. What do you do? What are you doing during those hours? Are you attending all the events and not getting an ROI? Are you evaluating? Are you dreaming about your SWOT analysis for your business? 24 hours a day, I'm just dreaming of my SWOT analysis all the time. What are the strengths and weaknesses? What are the
Yeah.
opportunities? What am I missing? I dream about this all the time. Are you are you making moves that will generate revenue for you? And if not, are you evaluating why? And this is what
Mm,
we don't do. All that work behind
yeah.
the scenes that's not on social media, are you putting in that work? Because that's the real work. The stuff that you see online, it looks good and it's fine, but are you putting in the actual work when the cameras aren't rolling and when you're not in front of people?
Yeah. I think that's so key. Not enough people have, I think the cool term is like a CEO day,
Mhm.
or like that time where you're, like you're saying, you're being intentional about looking at things and figuring out, okay, what's working, what's not working, what should I double down on, what should I try, like what should I experiment with. I think we don't do that enough, because it's just like you're saying, oh, just put content out and people will find you and did it. But there's a whole behind the scenes that's happening with that. That's you know it's only the content's only supposed to complement what's actually happening in the background. So I love that you pointed that out. And what's number 2? What is the second non-negotiable?
Second non-negotiable is much shorter, and it is detaching yourself from the emotions of outcomes. So a lot of times
Ooh, what do
we
you mean it's much shorter? I don't know if this is gonna be shorter.
well, the
I think
explanation
this is very I think this is an important one, though.
the explanation, the wording is a lot shorter, but we could, I'm sure,
Yeah.
again, this could be a whole other hour that we talk about this. But that's a non-negotiable because when you detach yourself from the emotions of an outcome, it honestly makes your life so much easier. And this goes for personal, it goes for business. It allows you to pivot, and it allows you to pivot much quicker, and it also
Mm,
allows you to move on and roll with a solutions-based mindset. So sometimes you might hear people online talk about that. You need to adopt a solutions-based mindset. Well, what does that mean? It basically means taking a taking everything as is, as it comes, because it will happen no matter what you do. Life happens, situations happen, global pandemics happen, there's legislation that changes, so it will happen. It's not nice. It's not about the event that happens, it's not about the result, it's not about the outcome, it's what you do with it afterwards. And this applies to both wins and losses. I'll give you an example. I'm in the tech space, so doing a lot of pitch competitions, and I see others who've been there before me, and some of them are winning pitch competitions and they're winning big prizes. And so whenever someone wins a prize at one of these conferences, it's announced on LinkedIn. And I've had conversations with people who've been funded big money, who've won some of these contests that are very public. And you could either take that win and just sit on it and think you're on top of the world and nothing's going to stop you. Or you could take it, accept it, you're allowed to celebrate, but never take for granted that that could be taken away at any time. So as much as you raise 2.5 million on your first round on your first round of funding, legislation could change tomorrow and none of that means anything. Or a user, a client, a competitor could just put a post out, completely bashing you, and that's it. There goes your credibility. Whatever it is, there's so many things could happen, but
Yeah.
never take that never take that for granted. So don't celebrate your wins too much, but also um, don't just sit on your losses for too long. Things happen. You know,
Yeah.
what do I need to do tomorrow?
Yeah. I think it's like sometimes we can rest on our laurels, as the old saying goes, we can like just say, "Oh yeah, everything's good, everything's fine." And then it's not until it's not. And yeah, I think that's so important. I think that for me, when I started my business, like my identity essentially was very much attached to my business.
Mm,
So if it was doing well, it's like, yay. If it's not doing well, then it's like, oh, and it's like you're always in this roller coaster of emotions because your emotions are being led by what's happening instead of just seeing it as opportunities,
mhm,
seeing it as growth, seeing it as whatever it is. And also, of course, like learning to be grateful for the things that are good. Um, but it's true, we kind of grow up being taught that basically from a position of fear. It's like look for the problems, where are the problems, instead of looking for the opportunities and just being grateful and thankful for them, but not letting them carry you so up and down. And I think that that's what we do a lot. We put too much attachment to the labels that we have, like entrepreneur, mom,
mhm.
wife, and we're just like, instead of just being like, okay, this is the kind of the thing that defines the actions that I take with this title, but it doesn't have to consume your whole being and you're this thing and that's it.
Absolutely, and
Um,
talking about the
yeah.
mom label, so when I
Mm,
started out in entrepreneurship and I started doing the social media thing, I talked a lot about my kids. So I'm a single mom of four, I'm remarried now, that's who was walking in the background. And I did speak a lot about my kids and overcoming, being a single mom because I felt that was important to the story. And I remember one of my really good friends who is single, no kids, and she said to me, she's always very honest with me, and she said, I don't know if you need to do that anymore. And I didn't get it because it was part of my story. It's part of who I am. And she said,
mm,
not that there's anything wrong with that. I mean, it's a lot of people resonate with it, but resonate with that part of you, but it doesn't define who you are. And if you're trying to
mhm.
reach a global market, it might even alienate anyone who is not a mother or not a single mom. And, just think of it again, it goes back to who am I trying to service? Who am I trying to reach? Who am I trying to attract? And why would they bother listening to me, whether it be on a
Yeah.
podcast or on social media or at a talk or in a newspaper, whatever it is? Why would they stop and listen to what I have to say? And I shifted away
Mm,
from that. So I do talk about my kids, but it's not the overwhelming part of my marketing and my branding. It's just one aspect. Just like finance is one aspect, entrepreneurship is an aspect. These are all parts of my life, but they don't define me. I know that if I lost
yeah.
everything that I've built tomorrow, I'll be okay. I'll be fine. I won't be happy. I won't be happy. There will be sadness, but yeah, no, you have to move on, and they don't define
Yeah.
who I am. I actually think about this a lot with my tech company, seeing as it's a tech startup, and the journey is happening so quickly. I don't know why I do this. It's a little I gamify a lot of things in life. So in my head, I'm always asking myself, what if you just decided not to do this anymore? What if you go to bed and wake up in the morning and say, this is not how you want to spend the next 10 years building this tech company? would that be okay? And I think I'd be okay with it. I don't know if my husband would be okay with it,
Yeah.
but I'd be okay with it. Uh, and I'm not stopping.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this because I'm stopping, but it's
Yeah.
detaching yourself from the things. You are not the things. That's basically my
Yeah.
message.
Yeah, and I completely agree, and I had to learn that too, and for me, I'm the same, and I think that people might like, when you say something like that, sometimes people might be like, "Well, what are you doing? What are you doing this for then?" You know? Because I feel the same way, like, I could stop doing my business tomorrow, and I'd be fine because it's not my identity is not in my business or the things that I do, it's in who I am,
Mhm.
and that's what, a personal brand is, and that's why people trust you. It's not because you're a tech founder. It's not because you financial advisor, you're doing all these things. It's people trust Lynn because people know Lynn's heart and her mission and her vision. And that's why people trust you. And that's why you can do multiple things and everything makes sense because it's like, of course, Lynn's going to take over the world. She said she was going to do it and she's doing it.
Obviously,
I'm surprised.
obviously.
So, so I love that. So yeah, it's such an important thing. I love that. And the third thing, what is the third non-negotiable?
Third non-negotiable, when times get tough, I always tell people you have to volunteer if you don't already do
Mm,
it. And chances are, if you're having a hard time overcoming, it's because you don't. And I tell
mm,
people to do this, uh, do it once, and then it has to become part of your routine in whatever capacity it is. It could be financially. Some people don't have the time, so they donate financially. Other people have a skill set, so they donate their time, twice a year to teach an AI workshop for a nonprofit organization. Whatever it is, it's so important because it keeps you grounded and it puts everything into perspective, and you understand that how lucky you are, and how at the end of the day you'll have bad moments. You'll have those moments where you say, "Oh, that wasn't cool. It's not fair." But life goes on, and you realize
mm.
through stories that other people share with you that a lot of times what you think is a mountain really isn't. Um, and you also realize how much you can overcome in order to whatever the situation is.
Yeah, I think it's like, when it's so true, and somebody else shared this with me too, because they were kind of going through something like really hard and they realized that, wow, I'm just essentially being selfish because I'm only thinking about me and my problem and this. And it's like when you give, it gets you out of your own head because you're able, like you said, to see people who are really struggling or who really, need some help, some support in some way,
Mhm.
and it, like, makes you even more grateful for what you have. So, yeah, I think when we're going through a tough time, it's like, "Okay, why let me put my focus on people, on helping people," which is what I feel we're called to do. We've been created to be in a community because we're supposed to share with each other in
Mhm.
different ways, and I think that that's important. I think that's like you're saying, it helps keep you grounded and helps you see things, gives you a different perspective on what's happening. So
Yeah.
yeah, I just really love those. I'm glad that you kind of went a bit deeper and had the space to kind of go deeper into um these non-negotiables because I think they're so key in what like, not in business only, but just like you said, in life, the things that kind of keep us on the right path, which is amazing. Um on Instagram, I used to always do a live show interview called Warrior Wednesday, and I always ended it the same way with the same question. And I feel led now to ask you this question, which is what does being a warrior, or what does the word warrior mean to you?
Honestly, it's just living the life that you want. No
Mm,
excuses. That's it. Just as simple as that. I know I do.
mm,
I don't look for approval from anybody unless my decision directly affects, um, the people around me. So who do I mean?
Mm.
My husband, my kids. I'm not going to decide to move to Panama tomorrow because this will directly affect my family. But living, honestly, being a warrior is living the life that you want to live and really like sit with that because I know a lot of people
Mm,
say they are, but are you really? And that's a
mm,
hard question to really sit with yourself in silence with your own thoughts and really ask yourself, is this where you're supposed to be and are you doing what you really want to do?
mm. Yeah, that's so good. That's so good. I completely agree. And again, things that we don't remember to do because of the busyness of each day, and I'm going here and running here and I got to do this for the kids and I got to get that. It's like we don't, and it's kind of scary though, like for some people to sit with just your thoughts, right? Because you don't know what's going to what's going to pop in your mind or what's going to like confront you in some way. Um and yeah, that's really good. I love that. And I think that we don't actually know that we can build the life that we dream of. I
Mhm.
think we don't, like, as human beings, I don't think we really realize that we can do that. And I think that's also a scary thing for people to know, that you can create, you can build the things that you have on your heart to do. So thank you so much. I love that. And do you have any, well, tell everyone where they can follow you or, support you, or the things that you got going on, anything like that. Go crazy. Have your time to share that now.
Um, so basically, you could follow me on Instagram and on LinkedIn. I'm active on both. I'm very accessible. If you shoot me a DM, I'll probably answer you within 5 seconds. If I don't, it's because I'm actually doing something and I respond to everything.
Mm,
If anyone, and maybe I'm putting my foot in my mouth by saying this, but if anyone just, I do a lot of quick calls, like pick your brains. I let people pick my brain, which I know those who are extremely busy or those who are coaches don't allow that. Don't bother me to pick my brain. If I'm free, if I'm available, if I'm between meetings, if I'm just staring at my computer stuck on whatever it is that I'm working on, not really working and not being productive, and I get a DM from somebody who I don't even know who's seen me at an event and they're just like, Lynn, I wanted to run this business idea by you. Can we hop on a call? I will give my phone number out and say, if you're free now, I'm free for the next 20 minutes, give me a call. And you'd be surprised. This is part of giving it back, by the way. You'd be surprised
mm,
how how appreciative people are when without any strings attached. I'm not trying to sell you a program or anything like that. I just want to help you. And I happen to be available. They're so appreciative. They'll always remember that. And then you yourself remember that you helped someone else. So it's always that's why I give back, because for others, it's not as easy. I've been fortunate to be around a lot of really cool people who've done really cool things that I could call when I need them, just like they could call
mm,
me. I have people who are exited founders, like nine-figure exited founders. Why would they need to pick my brain? But sometimes they do. Sometimes they do. Just
mm,
you know, even if you've sold your business for 500 million, there's a period afterwards, and it's not something that I did, but I have some people in my entourage who have. There's a period right after the acquisition where you don't know what to do with yourself. That was your whole
mm.
identity. And we were talking about overcoming and attaching ourselves to our business. That's all you knew for the last whatever 10, 20 years as you built
Yeah,
said company. And now you wake up in the morning and you are no longer founder of. So what do you do? What's next? And it's difficult.
yeah.
So I have some of those friends who reach out to me. Even them, they need me. They need little Lynn.
Well, it's not little
I
Lynn.
know.
It's impactful Lynn. It's impact, and that's what we, I feel like we ultimately want to do, is we want to impact people's lives, and we do it in different ways. Some people do it through their business. Some people do it in their 9 to 5,
Mhm.
or in their families or with their friends. And so, yeah,
We
we're called to help each other for sure.
we impact people more than we think. So that's why you need to talk to
Yeah.
people and get that feedback. Just as a reminder that you might not think you're doing much, but you make an impact on somebody around you.
Yeah. Amazing, amazing. And also I'll just put the details to in the description too of how to connect with Lynn, so you can just click and send her a DM. Here come the DMs.
Here come the
Um
DMs. Oh no.
We're gonna put all the you can catch her by carrier pigeon, email, like all the ways.
Yeah.
But thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on, for joining. It's such a great conversation. And I just want to end with saying what I always say, which is I hope that everyone that's watching, I hope that you learn to live with heart, lead with purpose, and do both compromise free. Until next time, bye.